Hello everyone, it's time for another video. This is Friday, May 25th. And so for today's video, I wanted to approach a topic that seems to be asked a lot. And so I just want to touch on it and voice my opinions on the matter, how I handle this and offer suggestions as to how you can handle this based off of what you want. So when people grow Phalaenopsis, they have multiple options as to what they can do with the flower spikes when they finish. But I wanted to take a look at a few of mine that are finishing up for their periods, and even show an example of what I do. So the first one here, this is a Phalaenopsis species. This is one that you do not want to remove the spikes on at all unless the spike yellows, because these spikes are sequentially blooming. This is Phalaenopsis tetraspis. The flower on this flower is fading, finishing up. But these spikes are sequentially blooming, so they will bloom like one to four buds at a time, and then like halt for a bit, then bloom some more a little bit later. So this one, you do not want to cut the spikes on. You want this one to remain intact, so you get as many blooms as possible. This next one, this is one that I made a cross on that failed, and the spikes have finished. This one I do not want to keep the spikes on because I want it to get growing, and the spikes to me already lengthy enough. So what I like to do is I take my sterilized pruners. It doesn't want to focus on very well. And so what I will do is I will turn to the base of the spike, and you can see in there, you see that node right there. I'm going to give it a sharp cut just above that node. That node will stop any infection should any come in somehow. And we've got the removed spike right here. So I'm going to toss that in the compost or the trash bin. So that's how I like to do it, because I prefer a cleaner, fuller, fresher flush of flowers all in one go, rather than a fuse flowers on a sparse spike. That's like a lanky spike, or like the one that I just threw away. Let me grab it. It's like a lanky spike with a few flowers on the end. Even if it reblooms with a brand new spike that also grows, I just prefer a cleaner show of flowers. And so that's how I handle that when a Phalaenopsis finishes blooming. However, here's another one. This one was Phalaenopsis let me do it. Lose Try Prince. There's the tag right there. This one is Phalaenopsis Tingshin Champion. This one's a Venosa hybrid. This one also has a lot of Venosa in its blood. So this one I'm actually going to leave the spikes on. The spikes aren't very lanky yet. However, cat intrusion. I will, though, what I will do is I will unstake it. If I can do this one-handed. It's very difficult. There we go. Oops, and it just fell. That's what happens when you do things one-handed. I lost. Okay, I didn't lose it. Never mind. And I'm going to remove this later because I can't do it one-handed because of the way the pot is. But I like to have my Phalaenopsis unstaked. The only reason I kept that one is because at the time it was getting in the way of other flowers. I didn't want it to stay in the way. Stop getting in here, kitty. But this one I will leave because the flowers in this one has a lot of sequential blooming in its recent blood, and it's just a nicer, it's not as big of a problem for me. But this one, the spike was way lankier, the flowers were much smaller. I just don't like the show on that. So, well, this one I plan on leaving. I actually have left this one as well. You're not going to see the plant very well because of backlighting issues, but oops. But there's the plant right there. It's a big one. This is a big striped Phalaenopsis. And I left the spike intact on this one because it only gave me 3 flowers when it bloomed. So the spike's not really any lankier than it would be if it was still growing. So I just left that one alone. But I usually cut them off, and there's my Phalaenopsis bellina back there preparing a flower. You don't want to cut those because that's another species. Whereas this one, I will cut the flower spike when it finishes. Oops, caught in a dendrobium. I'm trying to get good lighting on this one, but the light bars are kind of destroying the color on it a little bit. This is one of my few remaining no IDs. I have several no IDs, but I haven't bought any more in a long time. This is one of my older ones, so it's like 5 years old, I think. And it's reblooming again. It's a Pulcherima hybrid of some sort. But it's this one I do not want to leave the spike on. I cut the spike on this one whenever it's done. It's a very strong plant, so it would probably be fine, but I just don't want the lanky spike. This one, I will actually leave the spike on this one because this is a fragrant Brother Marigold hybrid, and Brother Marigold can sequentially bloom pretty reliably. So I'll leave the spike on this one. But like I did with this one, I cut the spike off on that one. I will be cutting the spike off on this one as well, which is the Phalaenopsis Amazon Canary. It's got 2 spikes on it, but I'll be cutting those off as well. And like I said, my reasoning for doing so is that I prefer a cleaner, fuller, fresh show of flowers on 1 to more spikes than one or 2 fresh spikes and then a few straggly flowers on the end of a long and lanky spike. If you're into that kind of thing, by all means, I showed you, there's a couple ways you can leave it. You can either leave it just fully intact like this one I'm going to leave, or you can cut it back to the first available node. But this one, the first available node's near the bottom, and the last node that it would have had is the one that has the branch. So this one I wouldn't do that on, but you can cut it back to the first available node that's still green, and it can branch off that or even produce a kiki. So that's how I handle flower spikes on Phalaenopsis. For other orchids, like some dendrobiums, like this one was just in bloom. This one is a Dendrobium usatai, and it's not sequentially blooming or anything. It just forms these little clusters of flowers along the leafless canes. And those you just cut them off entirely. There's no point in leaving them. But yeah, it's really bad. I just want to do a quick little video touching on how I handle Phalaenopsis spikes, my reasoning for doing so. And I have great results with it. Several of my Phalaenopsis have won me awards in my Orchid Society, and I don't know if it's just because of it, but I think a contributing factor has been the cleaner look of the flower spikes, because there's no empty spots with a couple flowers on the end. Like I said, I don't like that. It bothers me a lot, and there's very few cases where I'll leave it, and some cases where I'll leave it just to experiment with. Like that one I'm going to leave. I left this one to experiment with up there, and it hasn't grown any yet, but it also hasn't died. And so I just plan on watching these for a little while and seeing what happens. This one, I'm hoping this one will bloom some more, because this one, like I said, it's a Venosa hybrid. I need to repot it still, but I was waiting for it to finish blooming. But it's got a decent root system. And now that it's pretty much done blooming, I can do that. So please do comment below to tell me how you handle your flower spikes and what your thought process is, because this is mine. It's by no means the be-all end-all, of course. If you want to keep your flower spikes on all cases, by all means do so. But if you want cleaner, or you don't have a lot of space, so you don't want to leave all the spikes like dangling about, or you just like the cleaner look like me, then I just showed you how you can do it, how you can cut the spikes back. And this means that node usually in most cases will not rebloom. From this where the spike is. The next one should appear from right in there when flowering season happens later the year. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something, and please do, like I said, comment below to share how you do your spike trimming, or even if you leave it or if you trim it at all. Tomorrow I will be going live at 7 p.m. Mountain Time or 9 p.m. Eastern for the monthly live stream. I'll say annual monthly live stream. I had to postpone it because I was getting busy and I was sick, but I am ready to do it now. And the month's almost over anyway, so please do join me. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video.